Innovate. Enable. Forbes India and CNBC TV18 present Smart Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the inaugural event of Forbes India and CNBC TV18 presents Smart Manufacturing, driving the India growth story, powered by Rockwell Automation. As India gears up for Industry 4.0, the nation has become a hotspot of industrial activities backed by IT support. The new industrial revolution provides some of the powerful tools like IoT, AI, ML, data analytics, etc. And smart manufacturing will play a crucial role in building an Atmanirbhar Bharat. To transform their businesses to meet these demands of the digital age, biotech and pharma companies are looking to build intelligent, connected operations as a way to remain competitive and better serve those who rely on their products. So how are industry leaders building a future-forward framework for pharma manufacturing? How are they leveraging data analytics and AI in R&D and drug manufacturing? To discuss this and much more, I have with me Mr. Dilip Sawhney, the Managing Director, Rockwell Automation India, Yugal Sikri, the Managing Director, RPG Life Sciences, and Ramesh Swaminathan, Executive Director, Chief Financial Officer, and Head Corporate Affairs at Lupin. Thank you, Dilip, Yugal, and Ramesh for joining in for this short chat on management perspective, preparing for a virtual future. Mr. Ramesh, let me start this conversation with you because now we are over 2 years done with COVID-19. We've put it behind us in terms of at least India at this point in time. But one of the key points is that pharmaceuticals was really the backbone of COVID-19 and it really propelled digitization. We've spoken about the fact that it's propelled digitization, but I wanted to start this conversation by asking you what were the key learnings from it 2 years hence?
As you very correctly pointed out, COVID really propelled digitization. It was not as though we started with digitization only after COVID. It had started much before because bringing in efficiencies, bringing in lot more effectiveness has been part of the process. But what it really did was to kind of hasten the whole thing, and this is across the entire value chain, so to speak, in terms of manufacturing, supply chain, in terms of the way we actually promoted the products to the doctors, how we did, in fact, run our accounting division, our financial controls and the like, how we did our audit. So to that extent, everything really changed. Of course, there has been disruption in terms of supply chain in some ways, at the factory level at some point of time and the like. And there was, of course, learnings coming in from the way we actually promoted the doctors. But overall, it was a very good experience in managing change, in managing things at a pace that was unimaginable in the past.
But Mr. Ramesh, if you could just elaborate on a little bit in terms of where exactly maybe automation came in.
We realized the importance of IoT 4. Industrial Platform 4, so essentially because of that, there are a lot of initiatives which are in the offing. We've always relied on SCADA, PLC systems and the like in terms of controlling various things at the manufacturing end. So to that extent, we had DAC systems tracking various signals. But this actually, by implementation of, in fact, Industry 4.0, we took it to a very different level. So we had, sensors being placed along various machines, and of course, tracking various signals in order to bring in a very different kind of diagnostics. And of course, when it comes to our industry on the OS and the OT fronts, in terms of out of specifications or out of trends, in terms of what went wrong, across various patches. And also on the predictive maintenance front, because it helped in reducing the downtime and looking at how you actually can enhance production.
Dilip, if you could elaborate a little bit in terms of what the larger learnings have been within the industry when it came to COVID-19, propelling digitization in Indian pharmaceuticals.
Sure. Thanks, Ekta. First and foremost, things that you were already working on where the level of challenge got escalated to a much higher level. What do I mean by that? Right? Industry, we are no strangers to supply chain, disruptions or interruptions and so forth. But during COVID, it just got escalated to a whole different level where just because of flights becoming much less frequent, shipping lanes getting choked up and whatnot, right? The movement of product, both internationally and domestically, became much harder. So supply chain challenges, also the availability of labor. Now, workforce has been a challenge, but here you had a scenario created by the pandemic where, you really could not have the entire workforce at one point in the factory. You had to make do with sometimes a quarter of the workforce. But the life sciences pharmaceutical industry, really had to be, delivering to its full capacity and much more, just given the nature of the beast, right? So what I meant was the challenges that you were known or you were familiar with, the level of challenge got upgraded. And then you had a whole different set of challenges, emerging. What are these challenges, right? Coming up with, meeting with the needs of the pandemic, right? Coming up with new innovations, right? On such a short time scale, we have, in the entire history of mankind, we never really had, new innovations being put out in such a compact time frame as we witnessed during the pandemic times, last couple of years, right? Also, we saw, the use of existing, manufacturing getting repurposed to create, pandemic-related medications, remdesivir and whatnot, right? Again, this was done in record times, and it was made possible simply because manufacturing in the recent times had become much more flexible, right? So what we really saw was, innovation and really leadership that pharma manufacturers demonstrated getting amplified by use of digital technologies, right, to help the mankind meet up with this unprecedented challenge that we were faced with. I can give you many more examples, but I think it'll suffice to say that the level of complexity that pharma manufacturers are going to have to deal with, both in terms of meeting the conventional challenges that exist, doing more with less, being more productive, better quality product, higher yield, better, traceability, et cetera, and at the same time, having to deal with an increasing disease burden, newer kinds of, ailments that you have to deal with, which require you to innovate at a much faster pace, more complex molecules that are coming up, making the entire game of pharma manufacturing, in and of itself much more complex. And the third dimension really is having to deal with the sustainability expectations, which, we have no choice but to boldly take on, right? Now, a lot of sustainability impact is created by manufacturing. We all know that, right? So the interplay of all three of these dynamics makes the game of pharma manufacturing a lot more complex than it used to be a handful of years ago.
Today, pharmaceuticals, or maybe in the past couple of months or maybe a year on, they have been facing a lot of supply chain disruption, higher raw material prices, higher solvent prices, as well as freight costs. So how has digitization helped in terms of probably easing the pressure?
What we have witnessed in the last few months, almost about a year, when the prices of the raw material, packing materials, solvents, as you rightly mentioned, have shot up. I think the digitalization has helped us to reach or find out the lowest cost manufacturer. Digitalization has helped us to find out where the stocks of a particular raw material are lying and which we can source. Digitalization has helped us to find out the prices, which vendor we have the lowest prices available, whom we can reach out. Digitalization has helped us to know what is the inventory level available with our vendors, whether they are in India or outside India, say in China. And I think all of those measures which we did earlier in connecting the vendors, connecting the customers, I think all of that has helped us to optimize the situation, though if the impact has not been as much to compensate for the increase in the cost, but I think it has definitely helped us in optimizing the prices, or getting the product at the right price and selling the product at the right price well. I must also say it has also helped us to manage the inventories, whether the inventories are of raw material, packing materials, solvents inside the company, or it is the inventory of the finished products with the customer. I think all of that was possible because there was connectivity with various stakeholders in the ecosystems and the databases in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Dilip, Yugal, and Ramesh for sharing those valuable insights, strategies, and key concerns. I now welcome Mr. Sachin Misra, Principal Calypso, for our first presentation of the day on the state of Pharma 4.0.
Over the past few decades, there has been a significant portfolio shift to biologics and cell and gene therapeutics, requiring traditional pharma companies to organically build new development disciplines and manufacturing capabilities. Almost all have leveraged process development and manufacturing capabilities of their manufacturing partners or their contract development and manufacturing partners. To this end, they have built out global networks and centers of excellence that specialize in specific aspects of drug product realization, from intermediates through bulk drug substance manufacturing, finishing, forming, filling, and packaging. The global and complex nature of these extended porous networks necessitate the use of structured data sets and digital threads of data that are reusable and leverageable by the entire value chain. In essence, weaving digital threads into digital fabric of reusable data.
Thank you, Sachin, for sharing your expert insights with our audience.
Forbes India, CNBC TV18 presents Smart Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.